Didn't see you come in there. So we have finished building our Turbo Pi robot by High Wonder. We also downloaded the app that came with this robotic car, and we tested out some of the functions. Obviously, the funnest one being the remote control feature. It also has a few other features built in, such as pattern recognition, line following, and object avoidance. But what we want to do is we want to start from scratch. We want to leverage the power of this Raspberry Pi, which is the computer that's running all of the mathematics on this robot. We want to create our own unique application to install into this robot. So to do so, we're going to need to jump into our Linux computer. And remember, we're running Ubuntu 22.04, so it's going to be very important that you get that. I've already made a video showing what kind of Linux you need to get started when we were building our computer. And then that's going to allow us to download ROS 2. So the robot operating system, and then it's the version 2. This is basically the program that we're going to use to create our application. And instead of it being an application on a phone, right, like most people associate apps with phone apps or computer apps, it's going to be a robot app. So that's going to be the personality that we're going to build into the robot, which is going to define what it will do and how it will use the sensors and how it will send signals to the motors. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to jump into the computer now, and I'm actually going to use AI first to create an outline of everything we need, just so we don't miss anything. We're also going to download CAD programs that are going to allow us to design and 3D print our own robot parts so that we can start taking some of these mechanical components and fixing them to our own frames. So let's jump into the computer, get started. So here we are in ChatGPT. This is the AI chatbot, the LLM I use most often. So we also have our terminal over here. So this is going to be what we launch programs from. This is what we're going to create directories from. So let's get started by creating this list together using AI, just so I don't miss anything, because I think I know what we want, but there might be a couple other things that we need with ROS. This is also the first time I'm downloading ROS on this computer. I've been using ROS via web portals through like the Construct AI. So let's get started. All right, so it looks like AI got us this. We gave it some parameters, Ubuntu 22.04. We want to use ROS, we want to use VSCode, FreeCAD, and a slicing program that works well with Linux, right? So AI gave us this little checklist for programming our first Ubuntu 22.04. Development tools, VS Code for code editing, Git for version control, Python 3 already included, build essentials, ROS 2 Humble, official LTS for Ubuntu 22.04, the desktop full version, Colcon build system, ROS 2 Python, ROS 2 VS Code extension, option but helpful, and then the 3D design and slicing, FreeCAD for mechanical CAD design, and then Cura slicing software works well with anycubic printers. We need to also download Blender for sure, just so we have it on here. It also it asks me if I'm installing ROS 2 on your robot or your development laptop right now. We can do the video on what to download for the robot in the next video. So obviously, poor grammar, sorry about that. But for this video, we're just gonna focus on what we need to set up this computer for robotics. And then the next video, we'll jump into setting up Linux on the robot itself and whatever version of ROS we get. So sometimes AI will try to give you the whole answer all at once, and I find that kind of annoying because obviously we're going to have a lot of questions along the way, and so there's no use having every step lined out for us when we're just doing step one. So let's just do step one, and I have to constantly remind AI just to do this, but okay. So the first thing we're going to do is copy this. If you click copy here, it copies everything. So you'll actually have to copy these individually. It was just to answer yes to something. And So this is going to update the packages list and upgrades any outdated packages. So it looks like this is all done, and I just verified this with ChatGPT, and it said yes, go ahead and install that. So if you get that, just click yes. So this is just going to be for you guys because I already installed VSCode on here and Python. So this guy right here, sudo apt update, I can do that. This is super user do, and then it's just going to update the package list like that. And then sudo apt install, so it's going to install Python 3 using that, but we already did that. So that's all you have to do there. And then installing VSCode right here. You're just going to copy this in. Yeah, you have to add the VSCode repository. So you'll need to copy this in next, and then update your package list and install VSCode. So then run these two things, and then that's basically it. So I already have that here. Let's go over to VSCode. All right, so we have VSCode over here, and what this is going to allow us to do is create these thoughts for our robot. And basically we're going to be running ROS, and ROS is controlled by the terminal in some respects for creating new packages, which are folders used by Robotics. So normally an app will have a bunch of folders in this area, and each of those folders, if it's running Python, will be able to talk to each other. In our instance, we are going to be running Python, and all of the folders that are going to sit here, they're going to be in this form of packages, and that allows ROS to actually go and use a folder in a specific way. So there's a lot to explain with robotics, and I've created a whole new way of kind of conceptualizing it, and I'm calling that Cortex architecture. So before we start programming this robot, we're going to have to talk about Cortex architecture, so you understand kind of the structure of the thoughts that a robot has, because it's not like a regular app where you control everything. It's actually going to change its thoughts. It's going to use the packages to reference different things, and it's going to become autonomous. So great, let's install ROS 2 Humble. This is the official LTS version. So the first thing we're going to do is grab this right here. We're going to copy it, and we're going to paste it right in there. Okay. And then we're going to add this guy right here and hit enter. The third thing we're going to do is copy this, paste it in here. Then we need to add the ROS 2 GPG key. Make sure you get all of that. Copy it, paste it, enter. And then we're going to add the ROS 2 repository. So I'm going to copy all of this. So now we're going to move on and install ROS 2 Humble. So we'll copy this, paste it in. And then we're going to actually install right here ROS Humble Desktop. Paste. So now we need to add this line here. And what this is going to do is it's going to load ROS2 into our terminal. So every time we load a terminal, we're going to have access to ROS2. So go ahead and make sure you do this. And that should be good enough. And then we're going to check it by copying this, pasting it here. So in order to check to see if ROS2 was successfully installed, we don't do version. ROS2 doesn't support that, but we did a ROS2 topic list, and it looks like these are the background. It's running its default background services. So services are something we're going to have to talk about once we get into ROS2. So after we installed ROS, before we're going to maybe create our first program, our first app in ROS, we're going to move on to FreeCAD now. So let's copy this and paste it in here. So FreeCAD is kind of like SolidWorks, but obviously it's open source and it runs on Linux. And that's why we got our Radeon AMD graphics card, so we could actually run Blender and FreeCAD. I was trying to run Blender and FreeCAD on my computer at home, and it only has 8 gigs of RAM and it's got no graphics card, so it was crashing on me. But we built a nice robotics computer, and it's going to be able to run Blender and all that. So it looks like this is still setting up. So it was recommending a couple different slicers. It was recommending Cura right here and Prusa slicer, and I don't like it when it does this. It kind of gives you 2 options, so I just asked it which one is better for the long term, and it looks like Prusa slicer recommended for long-term use, but it looks like Cura is easier. So let's get started with Cura. I had originally thought that I wanted to just jump into the slicer that we'd be using forever, but I've never actually used a slicer, so I'm gonna start with Cura just so we use the more simple version, and then we can get into a more complicated version later once we model something that's a bit more complicated. So I think this is going to be fine for just creating like big the rounded cube shapes that we're going to build for our initial robots. I don't think the slicer needs to be that exact. We are going to be building gears at some point, so we will need to use the best slicer available. So I don't want to launch Cura, but it looks like it installed it. Let me just do something like Cura version. And it looks like right here we have the Cura version 4.13. So it looks like everything was installed correctly. And just to clear all this out, I use Control L, and it basically just scrolls down so all that is buried. It doesn't forget all this, it just makes it a little cleaner for you. So now we're going to install Blender, which will allow us to create 3D models and animations. So Blender's installed now, and this is going to help us to create animations if we have a specific motor part that we're designing and we want to kind of explain how all the gears come together. We're going to use something like Blender. So in our work, because we're actually building robots, we want to create videos of real robots, or we can use simulators. So we won't use Blender kind of for that thing, but if I want to create an animation showing all of the internal parts of the robot, I'll use something like Blender to take the top off or take the sides off, or remove a front panel and show that there's cameras inside. So that can all be done with Blender. So I'm just going to make sure, while I was reading this list, it mentioned this right here, Colcon, and I don't think we installed that. So this is why I wanted to kind of make this list via AI. So the first thing we're going to do is just copy this and paste it in down here. And it looks like we didn't do that, so that's good that I caught it. And then we're going to copy this just to make sure. Good. So it looks like we installed everything, and I just want to get started with ROS. So if you look over here, I was just messing around with simple like Python, and basically if we come over here and hit play, you know, this is like the most simple hello world you know, script you can write, but basically welcome to Millennial Robotics. So welcome. Let's set up our first ROS2 environment. So the first thing we have to do is actually make this directory right here. So we're gonna make directory, copy, and paste it in there. And then we're gonna change directory right there. So that's change directory. And now we're in our ROS2 workspace. So to build the empty workspace for the first time, we need to copy in this Colcon build. So I just copy that in. This creates the necessary build install log folders. Now we have what we created up here when we built this right here, or this was the Colcon build right here. So this built a nice folder. We went to right here, file, open folder. This right here, you just have to select that and hit open. And that basically gave us this right here. So this is, these are folders, and then inside these folders are going to be different packages right here, mostly in here. And then this is where all of our Python scripts are going to live, so we can create our first one. So I wanted to create our first package, and I wanted to execute something for you, but I think right now this is going to be a little too complicated, and we really just want to start building a robot and getting started on what we need to make it function. So that's it for this video. Basically, we have installed ROS2. We got Visual Studio Code up and running. So down here, this is where you're going to be making new files and folders and packages and executing them and launching things like Gazebo and the ROS visualizer. And then up here, we're going to create new files, but you'll actually create the files here, and then we'll be able to go in and, just like any other application you're programming, this is where we'll actually put the Python code and all your scripts. So we'll be basically programming robots using the terminal and VSCode, and then using simulators and things like that later on. So that's it. We've got the fundamentals, fundamental programs on our computer. We've got a couple of modeling programs. We have FreeCAD and we have Blender, and we've also got a simple slicer that we can get started on the 3D printer with. So that's it for this video. So in the next video, I'm going to get all of the programs that we need for our Raspberry Pi, and I believe we're going to be doing a similar thing, but we might even have to download Ubuntu, a version that will run on Raspberry Pi, and a version of ROS that will run on that version of Linux. So I'll see you in the next video.